Yeah, Scott, Lisa, former Judge Michael Conahan was at the heart of one of the country's biggest judicial corruption scandals. For his role, he was sentenced to serve more than 17 years behind bars. Now, his sentence was expected to end in August of 2026, but that has now changed due to the president's announcement. It's been 15 years since two Luzerne County judges were accused of taking kickbacks in exchange for sending kids to privately run juvenile detention centers in the scandal now known as Kids for Cash. Former Judge Mark Chivarella and Luzerne County's former President Judge Michael Conahan were accused of shutting down the Luzerne County-run juvenile detention center and accepting millions from the builder and co-owner of two for-profit detention centers. The scandal is believed to have impacted the lives of more than 2,500 kids, including whistleblower Hillary Transu, who we spoke with back in March in our Kids for Cash, the New Crisis series.
Guys, it's hard as hell to believe that this dude has affected, roughly 2,500 lives by sentencing kids to facilities, detention facilities for profit so that he could get a kickback. And Biden pardons this shit. That's the point. The judge is fucked up. We already know this. He'd do anything. But what I think is Biden's got pardons backwards. He doesn't understand that when you're a fucked up person, you go to jail and you do your time or you serve your sentence out. He got it backwards. He's letting bad people out and shit. And this stuff that he's talking of preemptive pardons, that just lets you know the judgment and his what kind of a person he is. He's immoral. He's a liar and he's a fucked up president. And for him to be goddamn pardoning this guy, honestly, the guy was going to get off. He had a light sentence for what he did. He's going to be getting out in 2026, but he got out earlier because of COVID. So they let him go home and be around his family. That is a blessing and a benefit. And then that ain't good enough. An investigation needs to be done on this particular part and probably many others. He just broke a record, pardoned like 1,500 people, Biden. And his son, that's not counting his son's included in a prior pardon, and then he goes and does 1,500 in one day. What is Biden up to?
The kids that were affected by Chivarella, the people who were affected by him, they aren't mad because he took money. That's salt in the wound. What we're mad about is that he hurt us.
Back in 2010, Judge Michael Conahan pleaded guilty to a federal charge of racketeering conspiracy. He was sentenced to more than 17 years in prison. His sentence was scheduled to end in August of 2026 when he would be 74 years old. But now that's changed. As President Biden announced, Conahan is one of nearly 1,500 inmates to have their sentences commuted. Conahan has been on home confinement in Florida since 2020 over coronavirus concerns. All the recipients were on compassionate release during the COVID pandemic. According to the White House in a statement, these recipients have, quote, successfully reintegrated into their families and communities and have shown that they deserve a second chance. But more than a decade later, officials on every level of the juvenile justice system argue that Luzerne County and the entire region of northeastern Pennsylvania are still feeling the effects of the Kids for Cash scandal.
They absolutely are. And Joe Biden's clearly aware that he ain't no damn dumb person. He's losing his mind, but I'm sure he flashes in and out. But there are people putting these pardons on Biden's desk. They're paying folks back for whatever, and at our cost. I mean, as a country, we shouldn't accept this kind of stuff. Presidential pardoning power is not intended to be used this way. And you guys can say whatever you want to say, because I do, but I do not believe that Joe Biden should be entrusted with pardon powers, even as president. He is not capable morally of doing this shit. He just ain't. I have heard more bad things about Donald Trump because people are so against this guy that he's public enemy number one, and Biden is doing as much or more than Trump as far as lying, doing immoral, weird shit. I just don't see that much daylight between them for people to be so on Trump the way they are and not on Biden. Biden spent 4 years in the White House doing shit for us. And then on the way out, he just kind of throwing up the F you to us, letting us all know, you know what? I'm pardoning who I want to pardon. I'm pardoning who paid. If that judge was accepting money to convict kids and send them to these facilities, then that means that Biden's okay with that. These poor kids with all kind of issues, some that they had no control over, or to Biden mean nothing. It means absolutely nothing. What about commuting the sentence of some of those kids? What about fixing some of those issues by digging deep and going beyond wherever you guys have gone to make sure you recover these children's lives? And as adults, what did they go on to do? And how were they affected by these damn judges? It really pisses you off that this country can be run this way, you guys. How do we accept this? How do we let a president, and it's a backstory. This ain't even a front story. The 1500 is the front story. But the who he is, it's gonna be more that are gonna be broken down, and 1500 is a lot of people. We got to get through them. We got to figure out who the hell else he is granted pardons to and why. Why is the question? I'm sorry. Why is the question? We need to know. Biden is tripping.
Since Conahan and Chivarella were sentenced, there's been an overhaul of Pennsylvania's juvenile justice system that has also led to the closure of more than a dozen facilities and created a major lack of juvenile detention beds.
Now there's a lack of beds. That's because the criteria for locking these goddamn kids up needs to change. And it can change easily. When you identify a problem child, instead of punishing them, we need to get closer to them. We need to embrace them. We need to educate them. We need to mentor them. We need to love them. But nah, we get bad kids who are identified as being suspended the most, fighting the most, not doing their work, not being real smart. We pile on. We don't grab those children and pull them out because they might have a special gift. They might have a special talent. I did shit. I got in trouble as a kid in school, but my parents didn't tolerate it. They wasn't accepting that. And once I realized at a very, very young age that they wasn't tolerating that shit, I learned how to act accordingly and be a prosperous and productive and positive person. And this damn president of ours, he doesn't give a damn about the underbelly of the society, the people who he don't know, the people who he don't identify with, the people who he don't like, the people he don't even think about. Because what that judge did was way more detrimental and harmful to those kids that he affected, those lives that he affected, then his life is being affected by not being commuted or not being let out early or being sent home several years early to be around your family and be given the opportunity to reintegrate. Nobody said the guy was a savage. Nobody said the guy didn't know how to sit at the table with a dinner fork and eat. We're saying that he's an immoral and bad judge. And because of the position he was in as a judge, is why you don't pardon that. You don't encourage that behavior. You don't ever let a judge know that they can get on the bench and do that kind of shit and be rewarded for it. That doesn't make any sense. Joe Biden, thumbs down on this one, bro. You are really blowing it. You've been a horrible president, and then you're like stepping on the gas pedal like you're trying to fuck up some more shit before you get out of there. You just ain't satisfied with coasting to the finish line like you should be doing right now because the world is in crisis.
We spoke with Chadwick Libby, president of the PA Council Chief of Juvenile Probation Officers, back in March.
These are youth that are committing serious crimes, and now we have no beds, and they're going right back into the community and committing more crimes.
Do we have classrooms? Do we have training facilities? Do we have mentors? Do we have volunteers? Those are the things we need to talk about when we're talking about troubled youth and not beds. When we're talking about beds, you're talking about locking them the fuck up. And that is not going to help them. I guarantee you that. If you lock them up, you're going to be locking them up probably most of them for the rest of their life. So if you really care and you really want to change the course of shit and quit parting in rich white men who fucked up and was given everything they needed to be successful, and that wasn't enough. You don't think judges make enough money, you guys? Honestly? You don't think that judge was well paid enough to go on vacations when he took his wife places, nice places possibly, his family included? You don't think they ate every day when they were hungry? You don't think he lived in a nice home with a roof that didn't leak? You know what I'm saying? All these wonderful things this guy had, and it wasn't enough. He still went beyond that, way beyond that, being corrupt and fucked up toward the downtrodden. And then Biden turns around and he doesn't reach out to the victims. He reaches out to, I just can't understand it. But I do understand Biden. I just don't know why a person their clock can run backwards like that. It just means in all the years in the Senate, he hasn't learned anything. This is the end of his career and he's doing this shit. It's a horrible, horrible thing, you guys. It really is.
Meanwhile, the Juvenile Law Center, the nonprofit that helped break open the Kids for Cash scandal, has released a statement to us saying in part, quote, "We hope former Judge Michael Conahan has reflected on the harm he caused to thousands of kids as he accepts this clemency today. Likewise, while we certainly support President Biden's actions, we would like to see the same kind of compassion and mercy extended to children nationwide who continue to suffer harm from our juvenile and criminal legal systems," end quote. Now, as far as former Judge Mark Ciavarella, he's still serving a 28-year prison sentence at a federal prison in Kentucky. He is expected to be out in June of 2034 when he'll be 84 years old.
Damn. So, yeah, he's going to be an old-ass man when he gets out as well. But the other judge shouldn't have been pardoned. I know he probably corresponded and stayed in touch with obviously the right people. He's probably was a well-connected judge and probably still is. Shit, who knows? But he's not only about to, be a free person, completely free, able to get in his car and drive around, but he's also going to be relieved of the conviction. That is like really deep right there. It's as if it never happened, presidential pardon kind of shit. I just want everybody to think about that for a minute. That's what Biden thinks this guy deserved. And Biden is the guy that everybody was willing to double. I don't give a fuck. When it comes to pardoning people, I can compare apples to apples because Donald Trump was president and I only heard the left talking about preemptive pardons. I never heard Donald Trump talking about preemptively pardoning people. Like right now they say he's gonna go after his adversaries, Pelosi and Adam Schiff, you know what I'm saying? Liz Cheney. And so Biden wants to protect them. But, well, what are you protecting them from? I would have a hard time accepting a preemptive pardon if I did my job the way I was supposed to do it and was not charged with any crimes, under any investigations, and then all of a sudden a new president comes in and charges me with something. How in the world would I be convicted with no evidence? How in the world, if I could be, if that's how the United States system works, where Biden is admitting, I guess, is he admitting that by offering these preemptive pardons, or does he know something we don't know? Are these people really guilty of some shit? Because no matter what kind of threats you make about convicting anybody of anything, no one can convict me of stealing a red 1983 Toyota Supra, because I never have. So no one would ever have to pardon me for that crime. So that's all I'm saying. I would like to know what crimes Liz Cheney, Nancy Pelosi, and the rest of them have committed up to the point of where this dude is about to get abusive again with his pardoning powers. But that is a power that needs to be re-talked about, rehashed, and maybe because we have so many different bodies of government there to keep each other in check. We vote on cabinet picks. We vote on all kind of other shit. Maybe there should be some type of majority that needs to be had before pardons are dealt out, especially when it's your family. I wish presidents' families were ineligible from pardons. That wouldn't be that bad an idea, because that's like a really bad idea for a sitting president to be able to pardon his family members. It just ain't a good idea. That could be for murder or some shit. I mean, they can pardon anybody. There's no limit to what they can't pardon on the federal level. So with that being said, we know Biden is a horrible president. We know he has no legacy to be bragging about. We know they're trying to prop him up, have been trying to prop him up. And the more I learn about Joe Biden, the more I dig into his past, he's been propped up as a human being his whole goddamn political career. He is nothing special, but he's a little charismatic. He had a good relationship with some of the racist Republicans back in the day, which was a nice place to be as a Democrat, where you had those kind of friends that you could hobnob and you know, take shots with. And you agreed on a lot of shit, and you still do. And I wish that this part of American history's page could be turned and we could move forward and on to where we need to be. Because with guys like Biden and Trump, we're not going to get anywhere. These are old men. We need to get the new blood in there. And we all need to get involved. Because you see what sitting back has done, right? Our parents' generation kind of sat back and chilled earlier in their lives in the 60s. But believe me, when you start assassinating people and murdering people, and the violence is just too constant, you just kind of give up on that approach, and you try to do what we've done for the last 60 years, and that's incorporate as best we can into the United States government and its system. But when you got Joe Biden's out there, they don't make it easy. They don't understand that the people who are uneducated are uneducated for a reason. I'm sitting here excited that Trump and his folks are talking about doing something with the Department of Education, and everybody's all clutching their, oh no, not the Department of Education. Yeah, that wonderful Department of Education that we were all educated in, that one. Yeah, redo it. I don't give a fuck. It cannot be worse. And if it is, then I stand corrected, and I'm going to come on here and do a whole show about it. But I do not believe that the education says, unless it's intentionally made to be worse. Other than that, it ain't gonna be worse. It's gonna be way better. You guys are gonna like it. Our kids deserve better, and children who are troubled youth, you know, they should be taught and encouraged to hold their head up and have something about them, something inside them that nobody can take away. But when you got a president who's willing to reward a judge who harmed 2,500 kids, give or take, we don't know the numbers, but just an estimate of 2,500 kids, they should have gave him a year for every kid he harmed. But instead he got 17 years. Who determined that? Who's the lenient judge who gave that judge that? And then who's the lenient dumbass president who came along and pardoned him? This is what we got to deal with here, folks. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I appreciate the support, and we'll see you on the next one.